Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, The Solitary Soul. My name is Asia, and this is going to be my first live and my first video ever posted to YouTube, and I am very excited. I would like to shout out to Seraphim Hearts for getting me to this point. I won't say it was solely because of her channel, but her discussions alone have given me a lot of inspiration and breaking forth from my own fear, my own limitations, and sharing the messages that I have with others. This is something that's always been a huge hurdle for me because I feel like a lot of what I have to share and what I have to say in the coming days will be controversial, but it's come to a point where I feel like I need to toss my hat into the ring and give myself a fair chance, but also I just want to share myself with the world. And I think it's time now more than ever. And what better way to start out than with this video here, which is about my New Year's celebration, which is today. Now, a lot of you are like, okay, but New Year's was in January, so what? Well, people all around the world celebrate New Year's very differently from the Western world. Some have lunar New Year's, some observe a lunar solar calendar. Everybody's kind of just doing their own thing. But I feel like honoring what is as close to the original thing as possible is very important for me. And the Babylonians and the Assyrians are actually the ones who gave us the concept of a new year. Now, there is some debate as to when they originally celebrated Akitu, um, whether or not it was on the day of the solar equinox, whether it was the new moon following the solar equinox. I know modern day Akitu festival is celebrated on the 1st of April every year. Um, and I would have never even found out about this type of stuff if I had not studied and dug more into spirituality and religion, as well as the history that brings it all together. And I think it's more suited to me because why are we celebrating what is supposed to be the birth of a new year in the dead of winter when everything is dead and there's no life? I wanted to talk a little bit about how the Babylonians kind of did things, and I'm going to be very brief because there are links in the description that'll give you more information if you're interested. But the Babylonians would celebrate this for 12 days. The first 3 days was about cleansing and prayer and creating these puppets that would be used on the sixth day. I don't, from what I've learned, I'm not really sure what the puppets are for. I know they have um, some sort of representation in regards to something, and then they would burn them the sixth day. The fourth and the fifth, it was memorials. It was the people getting together, the king humbling himself before the priest and getting slapped in order to show his humility before the gods. And then the sixth day is when there was like a mock representation of the battle between Marduk and Tiamat or something along those lines. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, so feel free to look that up on your own. But it was 12 days of celebration, of feasting, of getting together, sharing stories, reminding each other of their origins in the world and the origins of humanity, being grateful, not humiliating themselves, but humbling themselves before the gods and recognizing that all we have comes from them. Back then, Babylonia was becoming very advanced as a civilization, but they were still heavily reliant on the agriculture at the time. And so Akitu was usually done to usher in the sowing of the barley. I think if you have any kind of understanding from an Old Testament perspective, that would have been around the time of Aviv. But I find it very interesting how we went from that 12-day celebration to what we all have now, from one culture to the next. And I want to honor my gods and the divine in a way that is unique to me, because I feel like that's how we better connect with spirit and spiritual things, is when we make it personable and sacred, and we honor ourselves and others, but also honor our childlike need to express ourselves creatively. And so, after having taken some inspiration from this New Year's celebration, I am going to do my own little 12-day thing. Today has been dedicated towards prayer. I will be cleaning and cleansing my home. I will be sitting and reflecting on the intentions that I want to set for myself, for the ones that I love, but also mankind as a whole. And yeah, just renewing myself. Today is day one. Day two, I'm probably going to go out to a body of water and cleanse and purify myself. Day three, when it comes to those puppet things, I had this idea where I wanted to do a painting of like, to physically represent what it is that I want to let go of, whether it is things externally to me or internally within me, because I feel like um to be washed new isn't necessarily to make yourself perfect. I feel like perfection is something that is more like a purifying, like a trial by fire, in the sense that sometimes it's easier to see our journey almost kind of like purifying silver or gold, you know? Silver and gold are precious, not necessarily perfect. I don't think you can get 100% pure gold bar. I could be wrong. But what they do is when they get the metal from the ground, they purge it in fire, and the impurities sink to the bottom, while what's left is used to fashion beautiful pieces of art, beautiful pieces of jewelry. Um, Purified, but never perfect, you know? And so uh, on that third day, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then on the fourth day, I'm gonna honor my ancestors. On the fifth, I am going to humble myself before the gods and mankind and truly address the things that I need to, that prevent me from being the kind of person I need to be for myself and others. On the sixth day, I'm going to honor the origins or the genesis of mankind and reflect more on the fact that there was a lot that had to happen for me to get to this point. Seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th through the 12th days, I'm not sure yet. I might come back on here and share more of that. I just felt like it was interesting. And I wanted to share it with you guys. I didn't know that the new moon was going to fall on a total solar eclipse until about 2 weeks ago, but the more the better, I guess. This is a very significant time. I feel like this is a gateway or a portal into a new age, and not necessarily a very pleasant one for mankind, anyways. But that doesn't mean that there can't be glimmers of hope and gratitude, kindness, and compassion in between all of the turmoil that we might face in the coming days. You know what I'm saying? This is life, and there's a balance. You can have a really, really harsh storm, and after it's all said and done, you see the beauty of the sun, type of thing. I really connected with the Babylonian thing because I feel like there was more of a connection between them and this idea that things are never permanent, things are always changing, and there is a lot to the unknown we don't know about. Um, and it's okay to be scared. It's okay to um, not be sure, but bravery and strength comes in when we still decide to move forward anyways, despite not knowing what's going on, you know? There's a balance, there's dark and light, and both can be found within each other at the same time, as weird as that sounds. I wanted to share some channeled messages that I was getting in regards to this total solar eclipse because I do feel like this is a turning point, a tipping point, so to speak. Let's see. I feel for like a lot of us, it is a time to be prepared for anything, whether that's in your own backyard or in the world. There are a lot of things that are going to be ramping up and kind of rearing their ugly head. Um, and also, I have written down here there's a change in priorities on a collective level, priorities changing for the people as a whole, but also on an individual level. There might be a lot that comes out where we have to make a decision in our own personal lives. Do we subscribe to this? What are we going to do moving forward? What's our agenda? What's our plan on this earth, and how are we going to move forward? Because there is a lot of exposure, not just in regards to things you see as like with Hollywood or politics or whatever, but also a lot of exposure on an internal level or even on a local level, you know? Says tipping point, something is going to blow, whether this is news or an actual thing. People will witness this collective recognition of the times. And then it says a lot of look over here, not over there energy, wanting to distract you from the main motive, problem, the bigger picture. Some will deny what is in front of their face, and others will see it for what it is. Fewer will act accordingly. Lots of fanatics, leaders getting defensive towards their own people, but that's to be expected, right? And a lot of people in this us versus them mentality. These things kind of have to, like, it feels like this is the breaking point. It's like, what are you going to do when the situation happens to you type of thing? And it's like, how are you going to react when things break out that you can no longer justify within yourself, within certain people, within a certain person? Are you going to be able to let go of what you had previously known and make a decision that is for the highest and good of all? Or will you sit there and hide your face from what's sitting right in front of you and act as if like nothing is wrong? That is something that is very important moving forward. And also with this change of priorities, is it like, are you genuinely living the life that you need to live? Is the way that you're going about your life really satisfying you, or does something need to change? Um you might it's kind of like, say you went to school for 5 years to be a certain thing, you get into the field, you've been doing that for another decade, and out of nowhere you get this epiphany that this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And say, for example, everything that you had been doing that had been going very well for you at first now is not going so well. There's a lot of stagnation, things are not moving forward as they used to. You no longer have the kind of success that you were having at the beginning, and you have to ask yourself, do I need to go to school for something else? Should I break out and do something completely out of the norm or unconventional? Or am I going to stay in this field and continue to do what I have done, even though I realize there's no more growth here. And that could be on any level for you. I'm just giving an example. Maybe, how would I say it? Maybe for some of you out there, it's like you had always been a pink girl or a pink guy. Like you've loved the color pink. You put it in all of your statement pieces. It's on every item of clothing that you have. And then you realize, actually, you know what? Fair point. Make it blue. I want to be a blue person. I think there's a changing of values going on. Now, this thing with the fanatics, leaders getting defensive towards their own people, I feel like this is inevitable. There's going to be a lot of projection and gaslighting from those who have higher positions of power in the world because they are recognizing that their behavior is on blast and there is no escaping some of the damning evidence that's going to come out in regards to them. And instead of taking about accountability, instead of accepting their part to play in the wickedness in the world, they're going to push it on the people and say, oh, you guys are this or that, typical narcissistic behavior. And I almost wonder, if you have to be a narcissist in order to get into some of those positions, because like, anyways, let's clear it. I'm gonna clear it. Whew. But another thing I wanted to talk about, a lot of look over here, not over there energy. I am not sure if any of you guys know about this guy on YouTube. His name is Dutchsinse. Dutchsinse. And for the last couple of years, I will just so you kind of understand where I'm going with this. For the last couple of years, he has been observing the nature of volcanic activity, activity. He has been showing people how to look for the signs of an oncoming earthquake. He warns people about having a plan, taking action to make sure that in a moment's notice that you are ready, for the sake of your survival. He has saved hundreds, if not thousands, of lives with his work. He is able to forecast upcoming earthquakes. He has gotten a very good level of accuracy to him. However, tell me why it seems like every other month or so, all of his content gets taken down, and the only thing you can see are posts that he made 5 years ago about sheltering kittens. This guy has been speaking some heavy truth. He has been sharing this information with the people, and he has had a lot of smear campaigns and ads run about him being a pseudoscience earthquake predictor. They say there's no way that you can predict earthquakes. He's exposed the fact that a lot of these things are being triggered by fracking, by drilling in for natural resources in the earth. A lot of these are being triggered along the fault lines by nuclear power plants and all this kinds of stuff. And it's like the more he gets hot, the more his page goes cold. He's had his videos hidden, and it's like the government would have you think that these natural disasters, these earthquakes, these events are isolated, they aren't connected. This is something that just happens every year. But if you check his channel, I am telling you, things are ramping up. And it's like, why would a governing body who takes people's tax dollars and their money and their resources have so little consideration for the people in their country? And it's not just the United States. A lot of the earthquake information is also being hidden in other countries. If you follow his channel, And it's like mind-boggling to me. I think the stuff with Hollywood and our politics is honestly a distraction. There's bigger consequences and events taking place in the world, more so than what president we should vote for or what celebrity got caught being a booty bandit. You know what I'm saying? It's way bigger than that. They don't want people to worry. They don't want people being prepared. They don't want people having a plan of action. They don't want people saved. And that's something I think that needs more attention. But the last message I will close out with, too, for those of you who are watching before, actually, no, let's just pull the cards on it. I'm going to pull the cards from the Mystical Medleys, if any of you are familiar with it. I will preface this by saying in the reading I did earlier today, the Lovers, Temperance, and the Six of Wands came out, and I will kind of recap how I interpreted that before getting into my cards. So the Lovers, Temperance, and the Six of Wands, 656. If you add the 1 and 4, it's 5656. So if that number is significant to you, definitely look it up. But what I got from that is not necessarily so much about any kind of romantic relationship, because when I look at the Lovers, I interpret it as Adam and Eve, because that's who they are in the card. And in most of the Lovers cards, you see Eve looking up at the angel, whereas Adam is looking up at Eve. And when I saw that, I interpreted the message earlier today as something along the lines of needing to rely heavily on the guidance of spirit in order to move forward, whether it be in any kind of contract. So even if it's like, if it's a relationship, if it's a friendship, if it's a family dynamic, if it's a contract with a employment place, if it's a contract, um, and children can be a contract too. Like, if there's a contract that is about to start, ask yourself if you are ready for that commitment. Seek guidance from the divine on your next moves in regards to partnerships. That is going to be very important. And also your choices in general, what you choose to dedicate yourself to long term. That is very important. Your decisions at this time should be made with temperance. Nothing done too soon, too fast. Take your time. Don't do things in extremes. There needs to be the utmost emphasis on balance. Not too much of this, not too much of that. And your success will be assured based on that. But on the flip side, with the Six of Wands coming up in the reading, I always warn people with the Six of Wands, just because you are on top of that horse now does not mean you won't be on the ground later. So take your position, whatever success you have at this point in time, with a grain of salt and a level of humility. Because just as easily as it can go from Six of Wands, you can either find yourself back at the Five of Wands competing for your spot, or having to jump into the Seven of Wands where you're constantly defending your position. The success you have will be determined by how you are able to take that energy, that momentum, and propel it forwards, not just for yourself, but for those who look up to you. And to recognize that not everyone who is looking up to you does so with the best of interests. Basically, don't let pride get in the way. Use your success to build others up at this time. I feel like even on a greater scale, if decisions on a collective level are not being made with divine guidance in mind, it's going to backfire. If people don't learn how to temperate themselves and live life more moderately, it's going to come back to them. If people take the positions of power that they have to oppress or belittle others, those positions will be taken away from them. And I'm gonna pull more cards, but that is something I do want to touch on. With great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben said that. Oh, God. Slid all the way back. So, what do people need to know moving forward into this new age? I'm gonna put those back. There's too many cards. I'm gonna give this a really good shuffle, because when last week I cleansed this deck, and what I do with all my decks is I reorganize them from cups to swords to wands, pentacles, and then the majors. And then I douse the crap out of them with sage smoke. So I haven't really shuffled this one much since doing that. And I want to make sure that there's no like repeating cards if there don't have to be. So Shema, shine your wisdom and your truth on us and tell us what we need to know. Yeah, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but I already tried to record this video. And Three of Pentacles came out. So there is an emphasis on everybody recognizing their role to play and how everybody has a contribution to making things go smoothly. It is never just the task of one person. Sorry. I basically did this reading earlier, and the emphasis was on the fact that everybody has a role and a function in the grand scheme of things, and that we shouldn't be looking down on others because we might not know the role that they have to play. If you downplay another person, then the project that you're working on doesn't fully develop. It's not just this guy who's chiseling, and creating the stonework. It also took the investor of the project here and the architect to create the blueprint. And because of all three of their contributions, it made something beautiful. Moving forward into this next age, it is good to recognize that you have a role, but it is also good to recognize that your role is just one of many that is helping to create something beautiful, or regardless of what it is that's being created, you are a contributor, but you are not the sole developer. No one person has claim over the entirety of the project. Let's just put it that way. It takes a dream, it takes a plan, it takes hands that are willing and ready and able to work, blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, this time you have Judgment and the Eight of Wands. I feel like our willingness to work with others, to collaborate, to come together is highlighted, and there will be consequences based on whether or not we're able to accept our role and also embrace the roles that others have to play. And that brings me kind of to like another reader that I watched. There's Seraphim Hearts. Go ahead and check her out. But there's another reader that I watch who I've watched for years, and her name is Soul Source Tarot. And she just did a video yesterday talking about her journey within spirituality and the tarot community, and how for her, she started out recognizing that she had a skill and wanted to break out into the YouTube world, which she did. She's been here, I think, since 2017 or maybe a little bit before then. But in the process of that, there's been a lot of trials, a lot of scammers, a lot of haters, people who don't like the way that she reads. And she was talking last night about the competitive nature of the tarot and the spiritual community, and how she feels a lot of times like maybe she should give up because she's going up against what she feels is completely immoral and competitive behavior. And she was talking about, like, should she give up what she wants to do, or should she continue to keep going and make it about the money? Should she make it about the message, or should she make it about the money? And she had been struggling a lot with whether or not she should give up the whole thing entirely altogether because of the convoluted environment that we find tarot land to be in. And I resonated with a lot of what she had to say, but almost in like the opposite sense, because part of the reason it has taken me so long to upload videos and to really put forth a lot of effort and dedication is because, one, I feel like some of the things I will be saying moving forward are very controversial and probably not things people want to hear. But also, two, the competitive nature of it all. Um, there are quite a few things that I don't agree with in the tarot community. Um, I do find a lot of people drawing crowds by entertaining people's codependency, which I don't fully agree with. And because I knew just from observing that would be the environment I would walk into, it's stopped me from wanting to even start. But like I said, without those two readers giving the wisdom that they do, I would have never thought to just say fuck it and do it anyways, you know? If Soul Source Tarot isn't going to give up on what she enjoys and the messages that she shares, despite all of the um, less than good intentioned people around her, then I'm not going to give up on starting my own thing and speaking on what I've learned and what spirit has guided me to for the sake of myself and for the sake of others. Like, I want to be a positive force on YouTube for the tarot community, but also there are a lot of things that I have to share, and that's out of my hands. It's time for us to work together to raise the vibration, so to speak, but also to give truth. Yeah, temperance. Again, not operating in extremes at this time. I think a lot of us feel, and I felt this way too, especially at the beginning. How would I put this? Okay, I'm going to share this little story with you. Let me see. I'll get into this, okay, cuz it's going to make sense. But I want to share a little bit about myself to kind of drive home this point, right? When I started my spiritual, oh god, hello son. When I first started my journey with spirituality, I didn't get really serious into spirituality until about like maybe 10 years ago, so 2014, a little bit after graduating high school. About 2 years after high school. I was going through a lot at that time. I was getting into things I shouldn't have as far as drugs. The friendships that I were in were not good for me at all, but I felt like connection was just struggling with people next to you, until later on I learned that friends help each other thrive and help each other grow. I was struggling with a lot. I'd always been struggling with faith or what to believe in because I feel like you have to have a certain level of knowledge and information to really make such a big decision as to what it is that you believe and what you follow. And my mom kind of ingrained that into me. And I started out with delving into concepts such as Buddhism. I've experienced a little journey with Islam. And then I kind of followed in my mom's footsteps and took a more pagan approach. However, she's Wiccan, I'm not, so we've differed very greatly on things. Around the time I was 19, 20, I got into the new age metaphysical stuff, which led me to becoming a Reiki practitioner and a tarot reader. I started reading tarot for people, I believe 2015, 2016, and then I made my business official on May of 2017. And in the time between all of that, I believe I had one lucid dream that made me feel as if maybe I should start reading the Bible. And I did. And I had a whole life crisis over it because of the things that I read, obviously, the commandments, and being guided to certain information and getting into the Christian mindset. I promise this all has a point. There was a point in time where I felt like I was chosen and that I had some sort of superiority over others who didn't follow the word of God, blah, 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 blah. You know where I'm going with this. You know that savior complex people tend to get, that I am God complex, which is very prevalent, I find, in a lot of communities, not just the Christian community, but feeling this chosen one syndrome, you know? I used to operate in that way. I would make a lot of judgments and assessments of people that weren't really in alignment with the truth because I felt like I was the only one who had a sole purpose and a mission. I was the only one who had the access to this information, blah, 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 blah. And the truth is, we don't. You know, it's all being shared. Spirit is out here guiding people. And even if it seems like you're alone, there are people out there in the world having similar experiences. And it's not about being first. It's not about being the greatest. It's about information, knowledge that has been given with us to help the greater collective of humanity. And it was so humbling, I would say, last year because I met somebody who literally told me to my face that they were God and that they were there to be a savior in their collective group of friends. And it was like the same attitude I'd carried quite a long time ago was sitting here and rearing its ugly head in my face. And it's like recognizing in someone else the journey that you had to go on and the that they're about to have to start that, and it's going to be a very humbling experience, and it's giving that kind of energy, if you know what I mean. Everyone has their role, their part to play, their own mission in the grand scheme of things. And I think it's important to bring that up because we have Temperance, the Devil, Nine of Cups, and the Three of Cups. Let me see. I feel like Temperance is over here with the. I will never get used to that camera. I feel like Temperance is over here with the Three of Cups. Temperance is over here with the Three of Cups. Devil is over here with the Nine of Cups. There is a way for everyone to have their desires met, for everyone to get their recognition, their accolades. And it comes by staying in this energy. Like, let's take the devil away for a second. Devil wanted to stay, but hey. When you operate in divine guidance, the goal is not only to be satisfied within oneself, but to see satisfaction on the faces of others. to celebrate and to be joyful, to be grateful, to have gratitude for the things you all create together and the things that the divine blesses us all with. If you take temperance out of it and you add the devil, then it becomes a lot of ego, a lot of clout chasing energy, if I want to put it that way, a lot of debauchery. This could even be people in a collective group all struggling with addictions together. A lot of pride, a lot of envy. So, moving forward, what is it that you want to bring to the table? I guess is what I want to say. It's time to let go of this foolish notion that any one person is chosen or more sacred above another. And maybe this is just like a larger message in general, not just for people on an everyday level, but for people out there across the seas. This whole chosen, I, I hate to say it this way, this whole chosen one bullshit is bullshit. Because the divine, the divine rules over everything. Every man, every woman, every child, every tree, every blade of grass, every bug and animal that you could think of. It doesn't discriminate, and the way in which it favors people is totally up to it and not dependent on what another person has to say. You know what I'm getting at? You know what I'm getting at? I think to be chosen is to have responsibility, and nobody knows really at the end of the day. I mean, you can get an inkling, but if you're using your status as chosen to oppress others, then I don't think that's the marks of a chosen people. Anyways, I hope that this discussion finds you well. I'm sorry if it was a little bit all over the place. Like I said, it's my first time. I'm still working on getting over public speaking. But I digress. I'm gonna get off of here. I got some things to do. I hope to see more of you guys in the future. If you end up catching this live stream, please feel free to leave a comment. Any info about me you will find below. I do share my TikTok, and we're gonna grow, change, and evolve as we go on this channel. I just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you.